How's it going, guys? It's Ollie from Where's 1000. Today is June 28th, 2020, and all of a sudden we're tracking two disturbances that have the chance to form in the Atlantic. One which has currently a 10% chance, and another which currently has a low 20% chance. However, could this possibly develop in the near future? We're going to find that out right now. So let's first look at disturbance number one, which currently has a 10% chance of tropical cyclone formation within the next 5 days. And the description states a tropical wave located about 1,000 miles west-southwest of the Cabo Verde Islands is moving west-northwest at about 20 miles per hour, which is interesting because it's a little faster than what you typically see in a tropical disturbance in the Atlantic. However, shower and thunderstorm activity is also associated with this system, but has become limited because of the unfavorable development it's currently in. And the water vapor imagery kind of shows why, because there's the disturbance right over here, disturbance number one, and for one thing, is that it's currently a little bit too far south to develop yet. What hurricanes need to develop is the Coriolis effect to create an area of rotation within the center of circulation, and to conserve energy within within a circular area, because what makes hurricane strongs is a defined rotation that's in a circle. And I forgot what the definition was called, but it was some sort of a law of conservation when it comes to a circle. And this won't really, and since it's so far south, closer to the equator, the Coriolis effect won't be very strong since it's very far south. And hurricanes need that or tropical disturbances, I should say, need that Coriolis effect to strengthen that rotation and to make the winds rotate around the center of circulation. However, right now it's too far south for that to currently occur. And another thing that's making this disturbance a little bit unfavorable for development is just the sheer amount of dry air that's currently located to the east of the Cape Verde Islands at this point. And the US Virgin Islands, my bad. And yeah, it seems that there's just too much dry air just to the north of it, that's gonna hinder it from really starting up any type of sort of convection within a center of circulation. And as a result of the lack of convection, the hurricane aloft isn't going to release a lot of latent heat, which would otherwise strengthen it and sink down to strengthen the winds rotating around the center of circulation. So there's just going to be too much dry air, and also the wind shear is very, very unfavorable for this to develop, because there's a strong wind shear completely swallowing up most of the Atlantic. There's currently an upper level low located at this point, and combined with a little bit of a ridge that's over this area, it's bringing stronger than usual vertical wind shear throughout this region. And that's definitely going to make this disturbance struggle as it moves on northward. And really the only chance that this develops is if it develops in the near future, it seems like, because if it goes further and further more to the north and west, it's gonna encounter more and more wind shear, which would hinder development. And really the only reason why this has any chance of developing is because it has thunderstorm activity. It's just warm enough. It's gonna be just over warm enough water to maybe have a slight chance of developing, but outside of that, this won't really develop. All the factors are pretty much going against this, and this won't really develop into much of anything. If we take a look at the current wind shear map, which completely shows how much wind shear is over this area, you see that, I would say the disturbance is right around here. You see that the wind shear extending from Texas all throughout the Atlantic and the mid-Atlantic, the wind shear is quite strong in that region. So while it is currently in somewhat weak wind shear at this point, that's quickly about to change as it's inevitable that it will move to the north and west due to this ridge that's currently steering it towards the northwest. So very unlikely chance to develop. However, your question may be, does this have a chance to develop beyond 5 days, what the National Hurricane Center could forecast beyond? Because if we take a look just beyond the track forecast of where this disturbance could go, it's going to move just north of the Caribbean islands, such as Puerto Rico and Hispaniola, or it seems like it's going to go in that general direction. And as it continues to go to that general direction, you see in this area, the wind shear, it looks relatively light. So could this have a chance to develop in this area? It's still way too far to predict, since this is obviously going well beyond 5 days from now. But if we take a look at the GFS isn't very lenient towards developing it in the future, because it expects a lot of troughs to move through the US. That's going to enhance the wind shear again over that region where wind shear is currently light at this point. And this is the wind shear map, or the wind shear forecast of the GFS, I should say, as of right now. And you can see that just off the coast of Florida, the wind shear is very light. However, for most of the Atlantic, the wind shear is quite strong, extending through the Gulf of Mexico and through the mid-Atlantic. And if you move to the future, I would say the disturbance at this point would be maybe right around here. This is Tuesday, so I would say maybe right around here. At this point, it's beginning to develop just a little bit, but it isn't gonna. But the GFS doesn't expect it to get strong enough to where it could develop, as it just dissipates due to the wind shear that's very strong. And I'd assume that this thunderstorm activity, as it moves over this strong wind shear, is going to just get absorbed by this upper level low and not really become much of anything. So that's definitely good news, that this disturbance won't really have much of a chance to develop. Maybe the only impacts you may see along these islands are maybe enhanced rainfall, but that's about it. Not even a wave threat, since this is going to be far too weak to have any sort of strong swells or a major wave threat along these islands, or a wave threat at all in general. So that's definitely good news, that this disturbance doesn't really have much of a chance of developing. Next, let's move on to disturbance 2, which is a little bit closer to home, and it currently has a slightly higher chance of developing, up to 20% over the next 5 days. However, over the next 2 days, it's going to be a low. It's pretty much impossible for this to develop at that point when it's 0%. So however, over the next 5 days, that chance increases to 20%. And let's currently take a look at, and the GFS is currently, and what's the general idea of this disturbance is that there's going to be an area of low pressure that's going to form just off the southeast coast, and it may have a chance of developing right over the Gulf Stream over the next 5 days. And however, as it moves over cooler waters, let's say like this far up north, then the chance pretty much becomes zero at that point, as there won't be enough latent heat for this storm to develop as it moves over to the North Atlantic. If we take a look at the GFS model and see what it's currently forecasting, so this is as of right now, and I would assume that let me pull up the precipitation map, because it gives a better idea of where this storm could possibly form, or where the GFS is taking this disturbance. And if we continue to move forward, you see that low pressure begins to, oh wait, this is way far out. And then so this is as of 6 hours from now, and you see that there's a little bit of a low pressure just off the coast of New Jersey on Wednesday, July 1st. However, it's very weak, and I'd assume that this won't really have a lot of, it's going to encounter a lot of wind shear thanks to a lot of these troughs that you see just to the west of it. And you see that while it doesn't exactly show, you see that there's definitely a dip in the jet stream that's going to hinder this thing from developing. And maybe could develop, if it does develop, into a subtropical cyclone where it gets a little bit of its support from the instability that's currently over the northeast and would essentially become sort of a hybrid of a tropical storm and extra tropical storm. However, it seems unlikely that it's going to develop just thanks to the sheer wind shear that this like jet stream is going to impose on this storm, and it's going to move quite fast and move over cooler waters over the next several days. So I don't expect much of anything to develop as a result of that. And however, in terms of impacts, maybe enhanced rainfall as well over the northeast and potentially Canada later during the week. However, I don't expect this to develop, and if it does develop, it could develop into a subtropical storm, most likely, since it's going to get a little bit of help from the jet stream and the instability over the northeast. However, outside of those two disturbances, which currently have a low percent chance of developing, a couple in my last hurricane update, I was mentioning the fact that there could be something developing off the coast of Central America later during the week. However, the GFS is currently, if we take a look, the GFS is currently now reluctant to develop anything. If we take a look at the wind shear map, as of right now, the 200 millibar wind, which is the wind aloft, which is essentially the vertical wind shear. If we take a look at that, the GFS isn't really developing much of anything anymore. And I think that it's on the GFS is now more lenient, that there's going to be more too much wind shear over the Atlantic over the next several days. So it's sort of gonna like hinder development over the next several days. And the ridge that was expected to form later during the week, like I would say around June 4th, July 4th, I should say, it seems like the GFS isn't really developing that ridge, which would enhance tropical cyclone development, since it would enhance the chance of southeast winds, which would coincide with the trade winds that usually move from the southeast over the southeast United States. So however, the GFS isn't really lenient of developing a ridge anymore, maybe a little later during its life, but there's still going to be a little bit of an upper level low developing just south of Louisiana, which would increase the wind shear and pretty much prevent any type of tropical cyclone from developing over the Gulf of Mexico. So as of right now, the Atlantic looks good. There's currently two disturbances that have a chance of developing. However, chances seem very, very slim at this point. The highest chance is just off the coast of the northeast, but it seems like it's just going to deal with too much wind shear to develop into anything, and it's going to move too fast to where it won't really get a lot of energy over the Gulf Stream just off the coast of the northeast. So the good news is there isn't really any major tropical cyclone development we have to watch as of right now. However, keep in mind of those disturbances, since if it does develop into a subtropical storm, we could see higher swells and waves over just before Independence Day along the northeast, and maybe enhanced rain showers as well. But other than that, most of the Atlantic is currently quiet. If we take a look at the anomaly again, the sea surface temperature anomaly as of June 20th, 2020, and again, it seems to be just getting worse and worse in the main development region, where the sea surface temperatures keep getting warmer and warmer every time I update you guys, and that's not good news, since it'll enhance the chance of a bigger hurricane threat and a hyperactive season in the Atlantic. So that's definitely not good news, and it points to a more hyperactive season. So definitely we're going to need to watch this over the next several months to see how active this hurricane season could be. And remember to always stay alert for the next tropical cyclone or hurricane or any tropical disturbance, since it could impact your area when you least expect it. But anyways, guys, I thank you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe if you like this video, and make sure to like and share with friends and family, and I hope you guys all have a good day.